Right guys, I'm sorry it's been such a long time that I've not made a video on the E23. There's been a lot going on in terms of the few cars that I bought recently that I want to share with you guys. I've bought an E30 318i in malachite green, and I've already started fitting interior to it and things like that, and started modifying it, so I got distracted. I've also recently bought a E34 Touring, which basically I want to use it as a daily and sort of a practical daily, just because it's a Touring. And we've got one other car that's in the pipeline that's potentially going to arrive in the next few weeks or so. But anyway, we are back on the E23 and I have updates for you guys. So we have now managed to source an engine, an M30 B34. They are rare as hen's teeth to get hold of, but we have managed to find an engine, and we have, because of that reason, we've decided against rebuilding the one that's currently in the car, and because we've come across this one, we're going to strip and rebuild that and take the existing engine out and replace it with a new one, hopefully with all new parts and things like that. And we may potentially do the camshells and also the piston rings while we've got the engine apart, and also obviously the head gasket and things like that. So this is going to be a now continuation of the E23, a series about rebuilding this engine that we've got and then putting it into the E23 and getting it all started and running and hopefully driving, guys. That's the goal, that's where we want to be. So stay tuned. What we're going to do next in this video is probably continue to strip the engine out, the E23, and then I'll probably do a series on rebuilding the new one, the new gaskets and all that kind of stuff. Basically building it back up, swapping everything from the old engine onto the new one and things like that. So here's a few shots of the new engine, and let's continue to strip the engine out. Folding the seats for the engine, I mean.
Clift experience, let's see.
Can't see where I'm going. Yeah, that's it there.
So as you can see, we've picked up the engine from Tim Pollock. He is a classic BMW parts breaker and parts supplier. He is a great guy, he's a great laugh, and he knows his cars, especially the older BMWs, off the back of his hand. So if you are in the UK and you ever need some classic BMW parts, make sure to store Tim Pollock's contact. I will leave his details in the description below. Right, let's get on to removing this engine, well, at least starting to. So we got the car up on jack stands, up in the air, so that we can get underneath and access the bell housing bolts for the gearbox. These bolts run around the bell housing where the gearbox connects to the engine, and we basically have to remove them so that we can part the engine from the gearbox and basically remove it.
Keep cranking, bro. Keep cranking. Keep cranking. Keep cranking.
So that was just me encouraging Ricky to take out the last bolt from underneath. Now we did have to raise the car and drop the car a couple of times just to gain access to some of these bolts, even the ones at the top. We managed to get a couple out from the top, but then we had to raise the car back up to reach some of the other ones at the bottom. Eventually we managed to get all of them out and basically be able to start prying the engine away from the gearbox. Now I did mention that I would be taking the gearbox out with the engine, however I decided against that when doing the job, just because I found that the car wasn't high enough. Now if I did attempt to take the gearbox out with the engine, more than likely the engine and the gearbox would have basically wedged itself against the floor and the bulkhead, so I did not want that to happen. Eventually we managed to get the engine mounts off and any associating parts around the engine to disconnect it from the chassis. Now we got the engine crane out and hooked it up with some rope, and I know some of you will probably call me out on this and probably say you should have used a chain. I should have but I didn't have access to a chain at the moment, so I did use a towing rope and some other strong rope, and to be honest, it did the job and managed to take the engine out. It did take a lot of back and forth, a bit of wiggling and jiggling and prying just to basically part the engine from the gearbox, and we did have to take the torque converter out with the engine because remember, this engine is sealed, so I could not turn it over to be able to get to the torque converter bolts from underneath, so we literally had to strip it out with the torque converter.
Wow.
Jeez! Engine is out.
Engine is out. Look at that big fat mother flipper. Oh, look at this. Needs a clean, but Trish, how do you feel? How do you feel? Achievement.
Knackered.
Knackered. Need some food.
Good, man. It was good.
But we did it.
Exactly, we managed to do it. We managed to get this engine out. Unfortunately, the torque converter had to come out with it, and that meant gearbox oil all over the place. That's why we got the bucket to catch the oil. Now, this is the point where I made a terrible mistake and I turned the engine crane the wrong way, and this is what happened.
Oh my!
I was careful that whole time.
What did you?
Gone, bro.
I didn't know you were gonna actually rest it on that bucket.
Bro, I turned the thing the wrong way around. I turned it to loosen it and it literally fell on the floor.
That bucket got. That bucket somehow is still standing up.
Bro,
That bucket is not.
that was like Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift, you know, Taylor Hetherington. He did the same thing. I think he tried to put his engine on a bucket.
In the bin!
Right, guys, we managed to get the engine out literally in a few hours. It didn't take literally the whole day. It literally took half a day. I think we started at about 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock, yeah.
And right now it's about 6. So we have managed to get the engine out, which is a massive achievement. And now, obviously, the next few videos are going to be about rebuilding the new engine that we got, cleaning it up, getting it good, and then basically putting a new head gasket on it, like I explained earlier, and then build it back up slowly and get it back in the car eventually. So just want to say thanks for watching this video, thanks for watching this episode. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment below, and we will see you on the next one.